Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down exactly why Gen Z inherited a global economy that just feels completely broken. If you were born between 1997 and 2012, and you wake up feeling like the financial odds are totally stacked against you, listen, you're not crazy. You aren't doing it wrong. You're just playing on hard mode. Let's dive into exactly why that is.
Now, we've got to address this right out of the gate. Is Gen Z just spoiled and lazy? Because, that's the myth we hear all the time from older generations, right? But seriously, nobody wakes up thinking, hey, let me struggle for fun today. You're trying, your peers are trying, but you're living in an economy where the price of a starter house today is literally what an older generation might have paid for like a PlayStation. The reality? You aren't spoiled. The economy is just allergic to you.
So here is the crucial point. 34%. According to Newsweek, that is the percentage of Gen Zers who have under $100 left in their bank accounts by the end of the month. Almost half of an entire generation runs out of money completely every single month. Surviving on sheer hope and instant noodles? That's not a financial plan. But for so many, it's just the mathematical reality of the world they stepped into.
Think of it kind of like this. Imagine your dad handing you the keys to an old car. The paint is peeling, the brakes are screaming, it guzzles gas like it's on life support, and somehow this is the inheritance he hands you and calls it wealth. Gen Z didn't inherit a fresh, booming economy. No way. They inherited a broken, sputtering mess of a global financial system.
Which brings us to part one, playing on hard mode and the generational shift.
You see, Gen Z walked into an economy that had already been severely punched in the face twice before they even arrived. This punched-in-the-face timeline shows exactly how. First, the 2008 financial crisis hit. That wiped out job stability and completely froze wages, while a lot of Gen Z were literally just trying to finish middle school. Then, throughout the 2010s, the cost of living, stuff like housing, college, healthcare, climbed like it was speedrunning a world record. And finally, just as things started to look somewhat normal, bam! 2020 hit. The pandemic pulled up and smashed the global reset button, making prices go absolutely crazy and jobs just disappear overnight.
There's just this massive contrast in generational difficulty settings. Older generations essentially played life on easy mode. A starter home cost them maybe 3 to 4 times their yearly salary. Rent took up, 20 to 25% of their income. Jobs offered a really clear path upward. They had pensions, and one single income could support an entire household. But compare that to Gen Z's hard mode. A starter home now costs 8 to 12 times a yearly salary. Rent easily eats 50% or more of your income. And jobs, it's literally a loot box job market. You click apply and just pray. Entry-level jobs demand years of experience, and full-time work often pays like side quest money.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 2, the 5 financial bosses.
We're going to systematically break down the exact economic hurdles keeping Gen Z broke and stressed out. These are the big 5 problems. Think of them as the heavy-hitting bosses standing between you and financial stability. Inflation, housing, jobs, debt, and inequality. Basic living used to be this manageable, everyday thing. Today, overcoming these 5 bosses feels like you need to buy a premium DLC add-on just to survive.
Let's look at bosses 1 and 2, inflation and housing, together. The median Gen Z income right now is roughly $36,000 a year. But the median rent in cities with actual job opportunities is about $2,000 a month. Let's just do the terrifying math here. 67% of a paycheck evaporates just to pay rent and avoid homelessness. That leaves a tiny 33% slice for food, utilities, transport, literally everything else in life. There is zero margin for error, no savings, no investments. Inflation didn't just get bad, it basically became the default difficulty setting.
And honestly, it gets even bleaker when we talk about buying a home. For baby boomers, 40% owned a home by age 27. For Gen Z, only 33%. Opening Zillow today is just pure emotional damage. In fact, 31% of Gen Z still live with their parents. And look, it's not because they absolutely love family dinners. It's a defensive strategy, because signing one single rent check would completely end their financial arc.
So why are wages standing still? This brings us directly to boss 3, jobs. Gen Z isn't struggling to find work, they're struggling to find work that actually pays enough to keep them alive. Even when you land a quote-unquote good job, you're handed a paycheck that essentially says, hey, here's $1,200, good luck surviving a modern economy with that.
And this brilliantly illustrates how brutal the squeeze really is. Wages are standing perfectly still, like they totally missed the bus. Meanwhile, college tuition climbs every single year like it's Mount Everest. Everyday groceries, like eggs,
Suddenly they're priced like a premium DLC add-on. And housing is having its least affordable years in over a decade. Inflation is basically bench pressing your entry-level salary like a warm-up set.
Which inevitably leads us to Boss 4, debt. $94,000. Just let that sink in. That is the massive, staggering number representing the average Gen Z personal debt. It's the highest of any generation. Because college costs shot up way faster than wages could blink, this massive debt just became the required, default entry ticket to adulthood.
But it's not just student loans. The financial system figured out how to make spending entirely invisible with these frictionless debt traps. We're talking tap to pay, endless digital subscriptions, and those buy now, pay later schemes. Modern debt is designed to be completely painless in the moment. It quietly stacks up all those tiny auto charges into a massive trap, making spending feel like absolutely nothing, right up until the bill shows up and reality kicks the door down.
And surrounding all of this is Boss 5, the inequality wall. Social media has created this constant 24/7 pressure to look successful. Every time you scroll, someone your age is traveling, buying a new phone, or living in this perfect apartment. It's often sponsored or staged for sure, but it creates intense anxiety. It gives you the illusion that everyone else is winning while you are just falling behind. This pushes people into overspending just to keep up. And what makes this anxiety even scarier? The looming threat that the ultimate safety net, Social Security, might actually run out before Gen Z ever even gets to use it.
Which brings us to our final section, fixing the mess and taking back the controller.
Look, it's incredibly easy to look at everything we just covered and feel totally doomed. But while politicians really do need to fix the massive structural issues, like affordable education and realistic housing, Gen Z is the generation stubborn enough to fix their own lives right now. Here are the real-world financial habits you can use to take back control. Step 1. Get on a budget and actually track your spending. You've got to understand exactly where your money goes. Step 2. Avoid those unnecessary and frictionless debt traps we talked about. Don't let buy now, pay later ruin your future. And Step 3. Start building savings consistently, even in tiny amounts. Listen, stability isn't magic. If recession fears are rising and prices are high, stability won't just appear out of nowhere. It's built one smart, highly controlled habit at a time.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, critical thought. Will you wait for the system to change, or will you take back the controller and build your own stability today? You inherited a financial mess? Absolutely. But you don't have to be defeated by it. Grab a budget tracker, start managing those daily habits, and stop feeling doomed. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep leveling up.